The National Prosecuting Authority has now withdrawn charges of malicious damage to property that were brought against Norma Mngoma, the former spouse of Gigaba. The decision comes after a judge found last month that the Hawks had abused their power at the behest of Gigaba to arrest Mngoma in the first place. The judge said the Hawks officers had tried to keep her in jail over a weekend in the middle of winter during a pandemic at the behest of a former cabinet minister. One of the parties in the case is the organisation Wise for Africa. Its director is Advocate Brenda Madumise. She joins me now. Advocate, good afternoon to you. What's your reaction today? The National Prosecuting Authority withdrawing these charges that were brought against Norma Mngoma and used as an excuse to arrest her.
Good afternoon, Stephen, and thank you for the opportunity. I mean, it's a relief that we are at this point. Since the beginning of this matter, we've always been of the view that the charges against Norma, and in fact, were vindicated by the judge in the previous matter that the arrest was unlawful. So that they withdrew the charges, it was long overdue because they should have done that. And I think that the NPA, together with the Hawks, realized that they don't have a case to answer to, right? And what is important now is for the Minister of Police and the Hawks themselves to look at that judgment and take action against the three officers of the Hawks. Really, we cannot allow and continue to accommodate this kind of behavior where impunity rules, that when a judgment is made, you want to question its validity. You also want to question its integrity. And what we want is for the Hawks to acknowledge and admit that what was done by their officials or the three officials was unlawful and action must be taken. We cannot continue like this.
I mean, as I understand it, this was a situation, in fact, this is what the judge said, the Hawks call themselves a priority crimes unit, right? They're an elite group of crime fighters. They were arresting someone who was accused of insulting someone and keying a car. And to do this, they arrested this person, left her children there, and they did this over a weekend.
Yes, and what it demonstrates to all of us is that it was about abuse of power. It was about intimidating Norma Gigaba. It was about showing you that I, as your estranged husband, I've got the power, I've got the networks, I've got my guys with me who will always, when I call them, will always come to my defense and act on my behalf. And that's exactly what happened, that we have people who abuse state resources because they can, and we have seen it happening not once, not twice, but continuously. And here's the thing, that the judgment made it very clear that that conduct of the Hawks was unlawful, and we need action from the Minister of Police that act that was declared unlawful must be acted upon, and the individuals who are found to be unlawful be dismissed from the Hawks. At minimum, they must be suspended.
I mean, at the moment, presumably, they're still in office. There's actually nothing to stop them from doing this again.
Nothing stops, and that's the travesty for me and the concern, that if they did it before and no action is taken against them, it then tells all of us that they can do it again, and no consequences, no action taken against them, because, you know, we live in a country that rule of law doesn't matter. We're saying to the South African Police Service, through its ministry and the minister himself, that he must take action so that we demonstrate to ourselves as a nation that rule of law matters, and that when judgments of our courts are made, that they are given effect to. And at this time, we want them to take action. And really, we can't emphasize this point more than what we have said before. Please take action against the officials of the Hawks who were complicit and were part of this unlawful arrest, and bring them to book, because we can't afford this behavior. If you don't, the other Hawks officials, other SAPS law enforcement agents, or the police officers themselves will do the same thing, because there are no consequences. So we can all be lawless and not give effect to court decisions.
What do we know at this stage about the role of Malusi Gigaba in this? He is the former husband, estranged spouse is maybe the best phrase. Do we know if he was directly involved?
I mean, you know, we can deduce from all of this thing that all of what has been presented before the court that he would have been aware, he would have been involved. So let's just make an example, Stephen, I beg your pardon. Who would have called the Hawks in Mpumalanga to come through to the Gauteng province? It couldn't have been anybody else but Mr. Gigaba himself. We can make deductions, right? And that's what we have done. The three gentlemen, including the two women who were part of the arresting team, came because someone, and I would say without any fear of favor, that Mr. Gigaba would have told them that it's time to arrest Miss Norma Mngoma Gigaba, and that's why they were able to come through. If we had left it to the police officers at the Brooklyn police station, we'll be talking a different language now. But here's the thing, that for Mr. Gigaba, what he wanted to do with Miss Norma Gigaba was to demonstrate that he is connected. He's got the power. He's going to use that and ensure that he understands that she cannot mess up with him because he's got the Hawks in his pocket. And when I say in his pocket, meaning that they're at his beck and call, that he was able to place the call to them to say, come over and deal with this woman who's giving me a headache, who's giving me trouble.
Godfrey Lebeer is the head of the Hawks, and when he took over the Hawks, I think many people celebrated. This is a man, I think, with a master's in law and a master's in criminology. He's exactly the right person to reform the Hawks.
Right.
The police minister is one thing. I mean, you've mentioned him. But would you expect Lebeer to act? I mean, as head of the Hawks, he surely has the power to do so.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he has the powers to do so. They've got the judgment. They try to appeal that judgment on the insistence of the police minister, I want to believe, right? They then withdraw the appeal because they realize that the grounds for appeal don't hold water. I mean, they were just flimsy reasons that were advanced in that leave to appeal. So Mr. Lebeer is fully aware of the judgment, and we expect Mr. Lebeer to act against the Hawks officials who effected this unlawful arrest, and he must do so. If we want to restore rule of law in this country, we want to restore the confidence of the public in believing that the Hawks can act and serve and protect the interest of the public, then this is the time for Lebeer to demonstrate such and take action against the three Hawks officials.
Advocate Brenda Madumise, thank you very much indeed. Director of the organisation Wise for Africa, one of the parties in the original case involving Norma Mngoma. It's a fascinating story. I must say I have not yet seen or heard from a reaction from Malusi Gigaba to all of this, despite efforts to get a response from him.